Good chat. I feel like I've known you for many years, but we've never actually spoken face to face.
Yeah, true. It's a funny old world, social media. There's lots of people like that you'd kind of you'd connect to virtually, but you have never actually met them. But I suppose
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
good side of social media, isn't it?
It is.
Um,
It is.
we have lots of stuff to go through, but we only have a short period of time, so I'm going to fly straight into it if that's cool with you.
Absolutely, mate. Go for it.
I'm going to hit you with a hard question. So before we get into them, you're you're a Galway man, which is obviously one of your greater kind of characteristics, one of your greatest
One
traits.
of the
So
few.
yeah, so let's start there. Tell me about your kind of background.
So yes, I'm from Loughrea, just 20 minutes outside the city of Galway. So born and bred there, and went to school in St. Raphael's in the town, but lived in the countryside just outside of it, and was raised by my mum kind of single-handedly. She's kind of remarried since and got a great stepdad, John, and I have a younger brother, James. So it was pretty much the four of us for most of our lives. And then, yeah, I left school obviously at 18, as you do, and tried the uni thing for a while, and wasn't for me, and kind of potted around for a bit until I decided to move to Australia when I was 21, and yeah, I've never looked back.
Wow. And so what career were you in when you moved over there?
So I wasn't really doing much, to be honest. I thought I always wanted to be in construction, and went to university at GMIT and started studying construction management. And then after less than a year of that, I realized it wasn't for me, and I kind of just wanted to take a bit of time out, and did a couple of sales repping jobs and bits and pieces, but nothing kind of concrete. And I had an uncle who was living in Melbourne who also happened to be working in construction, and said, "Why don't you come out to Australia and give it a try?" And a lot of my friends had come and lived in Sydney, and I was like, "Yeah, I want to go and live in Sydney for a while," and decided to come out. And he put me up in his place in Melbourne and worked in construction again, which I kind of didn't want to do, but as an Irish backpacker, it's kind of part and parcel.
Yeah. And so before we get into the kind of the MasterChef thing, which is what most people would probably know you from,
Mm.
what element of food background or was there any at all pre that?
I always like had quite an affinity for food and restaurants, and I'm not sure where it came from or why it was, but I always wanted to know like what were the cool restaurants and places to be. Not that I was eating at any of them when I was growing up in Ireland, but I was quite a fussy eater as a kid, and my mother would always have to cook another dinner for me to the rest of the family. I would never eat the meat and veg. And when I was about 13 or 14, she was like, "I'm sick of cooking dinners for you and the family, so you either eat what we eat or you cook your own dinner." And I was like, "Well, do you know what? I will cook my own dinner." So I started cooking from a very young age, and yeah, just always loved it. And the food culture and scene in Melbourne is absolutely massive. And my wife Haley is a big foodie as well, so our whole life pretty much revolves around restaurants and booking holidays to go and eat in restaurants.
Deadly. So that leads then to MasterChef. So how did how did that whole thing come about? And give me the kind of breakdown of what that experience was like.
Yeah, so I always loved cooking and used to cook at home quite a lot. And then I worked in the fitness industry for 10 or 12 years before I made this kind of shift. And during COVID, of course, the gyms were closed, so I couldn't do much, but I was basically watching reruns of MasterChef and trying to create recipes and doing lots of cooking. And it's never something I thought I would actually fully do and have a crack at. And one night on the couch, I'd had a few too many vinos and decided I was going to just fill out the application and see what happened. And I applied the season before I got on, and I got to that final cook for the judges and didn't quite make it. And then I kind of went away and did a bit of soul searching. I quit my job in fitness, moved to Italy, did some winemaking. My other passion is wine, and I kind of decided to follow that dream. And they asked me to come back and audition again, which I did, and luckily got on the show. And yeah, it's obviously one of the best things I've ever done. It's given me such a great perspective on life and where I want to go next. And just as an overall experience, like you just can't explain how good it was, how much you learned about cooking, the chefs you got to meet, the restaurants you get to go and cook at, like the connections you made, and just walking in there every day to this epic pantry of food and all this equipment that you could ever imagine, and getting to cook for these amazing people was just, yeah, something so
Yeah.
special.
Who were the judges on that show?
So that was the year it was Melissa, Jock, and Andy. They were the three main judges, and they obviously had guest judges that come on every time. So the first week we had, Jamie Oliver was there with us for a week, just hanging out, cooking with Jamie as you do.
Well, yeah. And so
Yeah.
the Jock passed away throughout that, did he? Throughout.
He
that show?
did, yeah. So it was actually the day that our season was meant to go to air. So that Monday morning was the
Well,
1st of May. We all kind of were in the group chat buzzing, just waiting for the show to go live that night and everything that was going to come from it. And we got the call from the producers to say that sadly Jock had passed away the night before and everything was put on hold. So yeah, our whole world just came crashing down and it was such a massive hit. And I
yeah,
connected with Jock so much. He was definitely one of the reasons I wanted to go on the show. And, they were only been on the show for 3 years, those judges, and they really changed the show and the perspective of it. And being, a fellow Celtic man, I kind of was drawn to him quite a lot and his love for Italian cooking. And I love Italian cooking. My wife is also Italian, and we connected quite well. And I had such a massive respect for him. And he put so much time and effort into us on the show. Like you kind of think, you're going to go there and these are judges to, do a job for the cameras and leave. But it's not that at all. Like they're there for, to grow you and develop you. And they took time out of their day to come into the green room and teach us stuff. And they bought specific cookbooks for us for our cooking styles. And yeah, so to lose him at that stage was hard. And even to watch the season, to be honest, was quite hard. But as it went on, watching the episodes, it kind of helped the healing process, seeing all those amazing moments of us all cooking together in that kitchen with Jock for that final time.
yeah. No, I actually met him. He was a great guy. Spent some time with him in Galway in 2016 during Food on the Edge.
Oh, yeah,
He
yeah.
was speaking that year. One of the of all the chefs that I've met that time, he was definitely one of the kind of standout guys. Just down to earth, proper kind of Scotsman.
Yeah, if you bet
Um,
anyone is at the time of day, like if you met anyone off the street or in a cafe, he's not one of those ones to shun away. He would, yeah, he was a great man.
yeah. How did you find the whole like on camera experience? Was that nerve wracking to you, or were you
It
okay?
wasn't. It's kind of hard to explain because I think when people watch TV, they think of like you being in that moment, being on TV, but it's not. It's not live stream. You're kind of just
Yeah,
there, and there's a couple of people around with cameras, and you get to know the cameramen and women of the crew. So it's really you just there cooking and doing your thing, and you're cooking with your friends. So you get used to it pretty quick. Like it is a bit strange at the start, obviously, because it's so new, but it's amazing how quickly you adjust to it. And you film for 14, 15 hours a day sometimes to film those episodes, so it's not like it's just that one short
yeah,
hour of filming and you're on the spot. There's all the the walk-ups and the talks to cameras and the different interviews, so there's plenty of time to adjust to it.
yeah. And then post the show coming out, I assume
Yeah.
there's kind of a bit of a media uh, thing that you go on, or whatever. But was there a level of fame or kind of media attention that you got that was kind of
I
different
don't
than
know.
your?
I don't know if I would say fame is the right word, but yeah, it was quite weird. You'd be walking down through the markets and people start to recognize you and start asking for photos and things like that.
Yeah,
It's definitely a bit of a strange one at the time, but yeah, it's not something that is a normal feeling. Seeing people recognize you in the street and coming up and chatting to you, and you definitely do get the media reach outs, and the Daily Mail want the inside scoop on the gossip of what's gone on behind the cameras and that. So yeah, that was definitely something that takes a bit of getting used to, but it's amazing how quick you just get back into normal life after the 15 minutes, as they say.
yeah. So what's
Finchy.
yeah? I'm
Aaron
guessing
Finch asked for a photo with me, but I had to give it to him. He's a good fan of mine.
yeah, yeah. We get some strange comments here. So, what's the in terms of? So, I lived abroad for a couple of years as well, and I only found whenever I left Ireland, I got like a real affinity to Ireland, like I didn't have when I was here. Like I'd be bloody listening to rebel songs and stuff like that. It became real
Yeah, yeah,
it became a part of my kind of being more than when you're just here all the time.
yeah.
Is that something that you found yourself?
I just, look, I had a real tough time growing up in Ireland. I kind of felt like I never really fit in. I never knew what I wanted to do. I struggled massively with mental health issues from kind of the age of 17 to almost when I left Ireland. So it was just for me like I need to get out of here and leave this place behind me for now. And when I got out of there, I moved to Australia, and of course, just moved in St Kilda, Bondi, did the whole Irish thing with the Irish lads, and didn't really see anything outside of that. And I kind of just realized I needed to break away from this and leave the Irish life behind me, so to speak, for a little while. And I kind of had no intention to ever go back, bar to see my friends, or no appreciation for it. But as time has gone on and post COVID, I've definitely started to appreciate Ireland a hell of a lot more than I did. And now I look forward to going back. And I feel that kind of patriotism that you talk about kind of slowly creeping back in. Even silly things like watching Conor McGregor fighting and that. I'm like, yeah, that's one of our own, getting behind the boys. So yeah, it's definitely grown back on me over the last few years for sure.
What's your current kind of career, or what's the future plans?
So yeah,
Where
yes, at the moment I'm working in wines. I'm a wine buyer for a wine retail brand called Barrel and Batch. So I get to head up all the purchasing for them, which is great because that's my other passion. I studied viticulture during COVID as well too. So that's another big thing that I do. And then I'm also doing some private chefing. So I do that in the weekends for all the private clients and trying to crack the Instagram game as
Mhm.
much as I can too.
Deadly. And what's the future? So where do you like, is a restaurant on the cards? Is that the route you're going down, or what are you going to do?
Yeah, I definitely want to have a wine bar slash wine store at some point that I run. Something that's, yeah, just kind of European gastro bistro style wine bar with a nice little wine shop on the side of it. And I can just sit down the back at the end of the day and drink wine and see away the days.
And is that like in process, or is that kind of just something that you'd love to do down the line? Or
That's something a bit more down the line. I've kind of always said to people, I kind of want to do it as a hobby, so to speak. More than most how tough the industry is and how tough it is to kind of get by. And it's something that I would love to do, but I don't want it to be something that's, all consuming and kind of puts me off that side of the industry. I want to do it at a point where I'm kind of well set up and I can sit back and enjoy the process. And I just want to get as much good food and wine in front of as many people as possible, and not have to stress about, the bottom line and the overheads and everything that comes with it. And if I can do that on minimal margins and not have to earn a living for myself, that'd be the dream.
deadly, deadly. I appreciate the time, Phil. Can I
Yeah,
ask you two final questions, and we'll
absolutely.
wrap it up?
Yeah.
The first one is, so you, from following me on Instagram, you seem to have eaten in some of the best restaurants in the world, right?
Mm.
Some of the real top names. Um, I'm always interested I'm obsessed with restaurants as a concept. I just think they're incredible. What is it about the, how do I phrase this? The actual, the being that is the business is a restaurant. What is it that you love most about that?
Well, look, first and foremost, it's the food. Like, I love food. I love eating and I love dining, whether that be in people's homes or in restaurants. But I've eaten in some of the most amazing restaurants all over the world. I've been very lucky to do so, and those restaurants can transport you. And you can go to a restaurant in France and they can give you a whole depiction of what cuisine looks like from 1800s back to now, to all the different cooking methods in different parts of the country. So to be able to kind of see the history of food on a plate in a specific place, and then also the service. Like, I'm quite big on service. I'm quite a selfless person, and I live to serve others as much as I can. And that's kind of part and parcel of what being in a restaurant is. And just seeing people at that level of service and what they can deliver in terms of an experience and what you can get. Like, you leave those places on cloud nine because of the people that are in there. Like, you can get food in pretty much every restaurant in Melbourne at this stage, but it's that level of service that sets these places apart.
Yeah. Do you have like a category of restaurant that you most like, whether it's fine dining or,
Look, I'm a
um,
self-repressed wanker. Fancy Phil is my nickname. I love high-end fine dining. Just give me the Michelin stars and call it a day.
have you been, because you're a Loughrea man, have you been to Lignum?
I have, yeah. Yeah, yeah. So Danny is a very, very good friend of mine, and I was lucky enough to go and visit there. I was back there in 22, and I was just blown away by Lignum. It's such an incredible restaurant, what they're doing there. The food is next level. The venue is amazing. Like, you don't feel like you're in a small country town in the west of Ireland. You could be
Yeah.
transported to the Basque country or somewhere in Veneto in Italy. Like, it's just such an incredible experience.
Yeah, no, I agree. It to myself, it is insane. It's like you would think you're in Copenhagen or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think they'll win a Michelin star, or do you have any thoughts on that?
I think they definitely deserve it. I don't know what the politics with winning a Michelin star are this day, or how tough
Yeah.
or how hard it is, but I know for them it's, yeah. I think at the start they wanted to win a Michelin star, and that was something they wanted to do. But I feel like now they've kind of done what they wanted to achieve from a food standpoint. The restaurant is what it is. If the guide get behind it, they do. If they don't, they don't. The guys, it won't make any difference to them, and what they've set out to achieve and what they've built there is just world class.
Deadly. Let me finish up on maybe a tricky question, but away from the
Yeah.
food, so more of kind of a personal question.
Mm.
Is there any, what has been your kind of biggest influence in your life? Has there any been one thing or person that's kind of really influenced you?
I think my mother is definitely the biggest influence in my life. You know, she raised me and my brother pretty much single-handedly for a large portion of our lives. She worked full time as a nurse, you know, day shifts, night shifts, and put food on the table, clothes on her back, and never once singly complained. And you know, I complain here about the smallest little things, and I think all that she went through. She's also, you know, a breast cancer survivor that she got when I was 11 and my brother was 7, and there was no treatment centres in Galway at that time, so she used to have to go to Dublin for 6 or 8 weeks at a time, and she'd power through it and come back and still keep the household going. So whenever I think, you know, I'm a bit stressed or tired or work is tough, I just think of everything that she's been through, and it's not a fraction of what I'm experiencing. So she is without a doubt the biggest inspiration in my life.
Amazing, beautiful words, and a good place to leave it.
Whereas,
Whenever you're back in Galway next, we'll have to meet up, go to some wine bar, and actually connect, not just through the screen.
yeah, 100%, mate. You can sign me up for that, and whenever you come to Melbourne, we'll do the same.
Deadly, spot on. Phil, thanks a million, man. I'll chat to you
Cheers
soon.
on. Take it easy. Bye bye.